No one can fail but to notice the growing trouble of far-right activity culminating in violent protests targeting asylum seekers and the Muslim community. This surge in hostility, often incited by misinformation and xenophobic rhetoric, put forward, or at least not suppressed, by leading figures in the in reform, in the Conservative Party, and abroad, uh, has threatened the safety of these communities and has also torn apart the broader fabric of society. As government and law enforcement brace for further unrest, it's imperative to critically examine the underlying causes, to be aware of this, and to prepare for the potential consequences of this phenomenon, the likely arrests, imprisonment, the serious fines that people will be facing, as well as the future of these communities and how or whether they can feel secure in our society. There's talk of shopkeepers who are saying they're simply giving up, and shopkeepers who are specifically targeting the Muslim community, providing for the Muslim community. I mentioned Muslim shops the other day, and somebody said there are no such thing as Muslim shops. Well, on the contrary, there are shops which which sell and promote halal food. There are shops which offer particular cultural flavors like Arabic coffee and so on. I think it's perfectly reasonable to talk about Muslim shops and to talk about shops which are particularly run by known Muslim shopkeepers. They have also been targeted, the local post offices and so on. It's a foul and xenophobic and unreasonable way for protesters to behave. They are thugs, and they are mindless, and they are savage, and they are breaking up our society. Government officials, including Jim McMahon, have acknowledged the need for preparedness in the face of potential violence. He said, "Clearly we need to be prepared for the eventuality that there may be further unrest and violence. But we, of course, don't want it to happen." And this cautious approach underscores the unpredictability of the situation as authorities monitor at least 30 more potential protest sites. And the distribution of target lists among far-right groups and calls to mask up highlight the organization of these threats, posing significant challenges for law enforcement. The human cost of these far-right demonstrations is profound. Asylum seekers, already vulnerable and displaced, find themselves now under siege in what should be places of refuge. Recent incidents such as those in Rotherham and Hull mirror earlier attacks like the ones in Knowsley, where false narratives about asylum seekers incited the violence. The fear and trauma inflicted on these individuals is palpable. One asylum seeker from Hull said, "We're afraid to go out from the hotel because we fear that we will be attacked in the next 5 minutes. If we think we look as if we are Muslim, they will attack us." The spread of misinformation plays a crucial role in fomenting these hostilities. The Southport stabbings, for instance, were falsely linked to recent asylum arrivals despite the suspect being Cardiff-born, a music theatre practitioner, and attending a church. These distortions propagated by groups like the Patriotic Alternative and Britain First fuel fear and prejudice. And even on the comments under my videos, people have said, well, if you claim he's a churchgoer, how do you know he hasn't yet converted to Islam? This is madness. Madness. And an attempt to fit the rhetoric around the reality. Or rather to fit the reality around the rhetoric. The rhetoric seems to come first. The Home Office policy of housing asylum seekers in hotels. Well, absolutely. While a heinous policy that simply rewards horrible individuals that run cheap hotels like the Clear Springs Ready Homes and Graham King and the like of these people, raking it in at the expense of these individuals. This is these create visible targets for far-right agitators. And the targeting of solicitors and advice agencies further complicates the issue. The Law Society of England and Wales has condemned these actions as a direct assault on our legal profession, while Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood has emphasised the unacceptability of these threats. These attacks undermine the rule of law, the principles of justice, as legal professionals face intimidation for merely performing their duties. The impact on our society of these events cannot be overstated. Far-right activities aim to sow division and distrust, threatening the cohesion of our communities, of our multicultural communities. Steve Smith, the chief executive of Care for Calais, describes the situation. He says, the targeting of asylum accommodation is part of a concerted racist endeavour by these groups to sow hatred and division in our communities. This division, if left unchecked, will lead to a more polarised and a hostile society. And even if people are concerned about the, quote, multicultural concept of our communities, what we need is more cohesion, not more division. What we need is more integration, more care. I suggest again and again what we need is greater education, and that the education we offer in our schools is not up to standard. And there are easy fixes, and I proposed some of them, and I worked on many to try to plot a course for changing the way education is delivered, not only in this country but globally. The rise in the far right and far right protests, the two things go together, don't they? Ensures violence against asylum seekers and Muslims will continue. It's a significant threat which won't go away without a change in attitude. And it threatens our harmony and our public safety. I think it's the same sort of thing that sees people riding down the pavement on a bike and spurning the pedestrians, cursing at them. It's a contempt for others, and we need to rework the fabric of our society so that we care for others. It's more than just robust law enforcement. We need public education to counter misinformation. We need policies that promote integration and mutual understanding. And that's why the silence of people like Farage, so vocal normally, the silence itself is vocal. If he's not dampening down this aggression, then he is effectively promoting it. And the same can be said for other people on the far right. If they're not now using their voice to dampen down this action, then they are promoting it. People look to them, and if they hear silence, if they don't hear condemnation, they feel empowered, they feel invigorated, they feel now is the moment, the kairos, the time. And it's not the moment of crisis, the moment of decision. Yes, and the decision is to go back home and shut up. As we navigate these turbulent times, we need to reaffirm our commitment to a society where individuals can live free from fear and prejudice.